Hey everybody, welcome to the Dungeoncast. I'm Brian.
And I'm William.
This is the podcast where we talk about everything tabletop role-playing games.
And today we're covering the newly revealed Wizard and Ranger from the upcoming new Player's Handbook.
1, 2, 3, 4. Shout out to
Welcome, adventurers, to the Dungeoncast.
Hey, Brian.
Hey Will, it's episode 400.
It is episode 400.
Nothing special here, just
Sorry.
new stuff.
Our schedules have been absolutely obliterated, and 400 wasn't as big of fanfare as we were hoping so
But
far.
401 might be.
It might be just getting offset.
Yeah, I think so. We are trying some new things, doing some new music stuff, doing some new formatting,
Visual stuff, yeah.
original stuff. And we kind of hinted like this may or may not be like a big Dungeoncast fanfare event. And we're working on it.
We are working on it.
We got art in the pipeline for
We have
YouTube.
art in the pipeline for YouTube.
And we're kind of waiting on that.
Yeah. And new music we're waiting on, and
Yeah.
a few other things.
Yeah. But what we're not waiting on, well, I guess in a way, is new 5.5 information.
Indeed. It is here.
Some
As a matter
of it.
We're a little late on it, but I got sick and got braces installed. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. And then we were going to do all 5 of these classes last episode, and there might have been some talk about that in that recording, but we were like, holy shit, we've been recording for an hour and a half.
Indeed.
That's an episode. Let's
is
just
an
cut it and
episode.
do.
And I also thought it was, I don't want to say thematically appropriate, but it's appropriate in that I think the Druid, the Rogue, and the Warlock are all pretty much in the same echelon, if not a little bit lower than the Fighter, Barbarian, Paladin when it came to our approvals of changes.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Wizard's going to be a step down from that, and I think the Ranger, spoiler alert, is going to be a big step down from the rest of them.
Oh, man.
But-
the Ranger's worse? Oh, no.
The Ranger's not worse. It's more of a lateral movement. But anyways, we'll get to
great.
it. We'll get to it. Anyways,
Okay.
We're starting with the Wizard.
Okay. Just before we get started,
Yes.
hey, everybody, there's a lot of people that have been watching the show from early on that have been with us for a long time. 400 episodes deep. If you're one of those people, I want to give you a special thank you right now. Thanks so much for being on board for all this time.
Indeed.
It's been a cool, fun ride.
It's been a crazy ride.
Lots of drama. lots of
Ups and downs and all around.
corporate drama
We were-
entered the chat.
We were demonetized for like 6 months. On
Yeah,
YouTube.
that happened, and we couldn't figure it out, and you guys stuck with us. And
Indeed.
especially if you're on Patreon, if you've been on Patreon for a long time, you've really helped bridge the gap and float the show.
Indeed.
Thanks a lot. Thank you to all the networks that have supported us over the years. We're currently with Realm, who's been great to us, so thank you guys. If you have any creators that you want us to collab with, or if you are a creator who would like to collab with us, please send us an email or a message somewhere on social media or whatever, Discord. Yeah, but just a big thanks to everybody that's been listening to the show, and we really love you guys. Thanks for making this all possible. And here's episode 400.
Let's do it. All right, the Wizard. So I think it's pretty widely understood that the Wizard is a very powerful class. Mostly because it is a full caster that has access to the best spell list in the game. That is the main reason. And so what we're going to see here is some interesting changes that, for the most part, I think make it better. But I'll let you be the judge. So let's get into it.
Yeah, I think with most of the 5.5 stuff so far, better how has been a big question. You know, that gets answered.
Yes, and I the answer here I think is pretty upfront in that, like, the main thing that the Wizard has besides having the best spell list is versatility, because they not only get access to the best spell list in the game, but they theoretically can get access to pretty much every spell in the game if by learning via spell scrolls, which another class could do, right? Versatility is kind of the Wizard shtick. They have a tool for every problem.
Yes.
And
If it's prepared.
And that has been the thing that they've been wanting to lean into, is this versatility. So the spell-casting feature for Wizards has had a number of changes.
Okay.
The number of prepared spells is now a fixed number on the Wizard's table, which I guess it wasn't before. You can replace one cantrip every long rest, so basically you have access to your entire
repertoire of cantrips.
Yeah. Spellbooks can be used as spellcasting foci now, which is useful to a certain degree. Basically, the main function of spell focuses is that they take the place of material.
Components,
that's
yes.
the word. And you have a spell book no matter what as a wizard.
Yes.
So you start with a spell focus no matter what as a wizard.
Yeah, you're pouring over your spell book in your downtime. That's pretty much what you're doing.
Yeah. Apparently backing up your spell book is faster and cheaper now. It wasn't really a mechanic I ever interacted with, but there it is.
Yeah, which is a thing. A thing on this show specifically is the style we play the game is a lot of hand wavies in this department, and that has changed for me depending on the player.
Depending on the player, depending on the table, but depending on the setting.
I basically am like, how much are you trying to do?
Yeah.
How much do you want to do? I'll help you get to it.
Yeah. Ritual casting has now been removed from spell casting. Classes can now cast any prepared spells with the ritual tag as a ritual. So ritual casting gets its own feature now, which is the first feature we're going to talk about, called Ritual Adept, rather than it being part of the big giant text block that is the spellcasting feature.
Right.
So just to make it more clear for people, this is like a clarity thing.
Okay.
So level
I'm
1.
always a fan of clarity.
Indeed. Ritual Adept, level 1. Functions the same as the ritual casting rules for the 2014 Wizard. Excuse me. But these rules are now housed under their own feature. Crawford claims many were missing out on ritual casting because it was easy to miss in the book, so now it has a highlighted feature.
It does come up like when people start spell casting, they're like, "What is this R or whatever that what the asterisk or whatever
Yeah,
like can be like," and then you get the question on the spot, and it's like, "Oh, I would have done that if I had known."
Sure, yeah. Now now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if I've ever played a ritual casting spellcaster like for any long term campaign. I tend to play paladins, hexblades, fighter multi-classes. I've dabbled in ranger in 5e, and that's basically it. I'm mostly a dungeon master, but I have dungeon mastered for both druids and wizards, but ritual casting has never really come up. Like, it never came up in Super Quest Saga. You guys could do it. You guys just never really did it.
The pacing of Super Quest Saga is the reason we didn't. I think we had that conversation off of like, hey, the style of this game, because it's being made for radio,
For a show, yeah.
is like, we're not going to take, seldom are we going to spend an in-game hour doing anything but the storyline. Like,
right. Or like we'll have episodes where you guys have free reign to do whatever it is that is not story related.
yeah. And then
Or we'll have the interludes too, which is like more of a collaborative storytelling kind of.
now in Unhallowed that we're playing behind the scenes for our Patreon, which will air soon-ish, maybe, that I did start ritual casting in and was useful. Specifically
Okay.
speak with animals.
Oh, yes, that's true. That's true. Yeah, because you're a bard. Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, moving on. You get a new feature at level 2 called Scholar. Scholar gives you expertise in one of the knowledge skills. So this can be Arcana, Nature, or Religion. or
Do
history.
you mean like intelligence skill? Like a knowledge?
Yes, one of the knowledge skills. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, Arcana, History, Religion, and Nature.
Got
are the
it,
4. Yeah. And they are all 4 intelligence. This one I think is a really good change, despite I think some rogue fans not liking more classes getting expertise. But I do think like the wizard really should shine here more than anybody else.
Yes, I agree.
Being the knowledge haver.
And canonically, like in lore, you are an expert.
Yes.
It makes sense to have expertise.
Absolutely. And the last change is a level 5 new feature called Memorize Spell. Swap one prepared spell for one in your spellbook each short rest, which leads to more versatility. Now, this is an interesting one. I like it. I 100% support it. I think it flies in the face of some really old school thought on the wizard. But I also think it was the natural next step because, like, we're already one step removed for how the wizard originally operated, which was not only did you need to prepare each spell, but you had to prepare every single one of your slots. So like you have 3 level slots, you prepare one for this spell, one for that spell, and maybe another one for your first spell.
Right.
But you didn't just prepare 3 spells and could use those slots however you wanted. Nowadays in 5e you could. And now they're taking that one step further of like, and if you didn't prepare that spell that you that could be super useful, if you have time for a short rest, you could pull that one out of your bag if you have the time. So
Yeah.
I like it. I think it works better for the modern version of the wizard, and so that the wizard can kind of do what the wizard is known for, is pulling the right trick out of the bag at the right time. Yeah. So any thoughts on that?
I like it. It's covering a major complaint and pitfall with, especially, I think if you're trying to make the wizard more approachable, is what this seems like they're trying to do. It does.
Yeah.
It accomplishes that.
Agreed. Lastly, they debuffed the level 18 feature Spell Mastery. So now the spells that you master must have a casting time of 1 action, so no shield or misty step. So basically this, if I remember correctly, it was basically giving you unlimited casting of specific spells of level 1 or 2. The problem was, like, why would you not spend those on shield, where you could just shield every single turn, or misty step every single turn? So now, no, that spell needs to take a casting time of 1 action, so no bonus action or reaction spells.
That's cool. I
It makes
think
sense.
that's a balancing issue, right? Yeah, this is good.
Because otherwise, you just permanently, as long as you spend your reaction, have a +5 to your armor class, and can permanently just teleport every turn.
Yeah, now you're Dumbledore.
Yeah,
And that's,
which maybe
I mean-
maybe at level 18 you should be, but I do think it makes what ends up being like if you don't take these 2 spells, or maybe there's a couple other, then you're basically hamstringing yourself, because these are so good. Why would you not take them?
yeah.
Right.
I agree
So
with
now
that.
it's like, okay, well, now no one can take them, so now be a little bit more creative in the ones that you choose.
I have never gotten to level 18 not with at all,
Yeah,
but
yeah, me neither.
especially not with a wizard.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the closest I've
closest with a wizard.
with a wizard, yeah. Which technically I was 2 levels of rogue, so I got to level 12 wizard.
Gotcha. Okay.
So not even that close. Not even really that close.
Not even really that close, but close.
Closer than anything else, like we said. Interesting. This is very interesting to me, actually.
Okay. Well, like all the other classes, the wizard subclasses have now moved from level 2 to level 3. So you get them a little later.
Okay.
And now the school savant features that all wizard subclasses were getting, which gives 2 free. Oh, wait, hold on. What it did do was it made copying spells down in your spell book cheaper for half the time. So if you were a necromancer, you could copy necromancer spells in your spell book at double speed for half the price.
Right.
Now it doesn't. They no longer do that. Now what they do is they give 2 free spells from the school that you are attached to, and another free spell each time that you gain access in a new level of spell slot. So when you gain a level 3 spell slot and you're a necromancer, although necromancer doesn't exist, so it's a bad example, and you're an evoker, you get an evocation spell every single time. So, and I think that's good. That's a nice. It's way better than the old feature, if you ask me,
Okay.
and achieves what the old feature was originally supposed to do anyways. Like, the idea of the old feature is that you have more of these spells because it's easier for you to get these spells. But we're not actually giving you these spells, and we're forcing you to engage with a rule that not necessarily everyone engages with when it comes to learning spells.
Yeah.
So instead, why don't we just give you spells?
Buyer beware. If you play a wizard, for me, I learned to play a wizard as I played with the help of a few specific audience members on our show, like guiding me, like, hey, you did that one rule wrong, do this. And then I try to fix it and not do that mistake again as I played. And by the end of it, I feel like I had like 3/4 of what the wizard was actually supposed to be played like in my belt, under my belt. We didn't do a lot of I feel like a wizard shouldn't have a lot of time for being like a personality that they are constantly studying, constantly trying to get money and components to get their stuff, and are just worried about like facts. And it's hard to move around the world unless you have your party to go get these components. Like your ranger could help you a lot. Like you're very reliant in a lot of ways on your party members to help protect you to do these weird obscure things like casting magic. And it translates into play where you are really busy resource tracking, resource managing.
Right.
So and you can correct me if this is a wrong take, but you have the fighter as your basic introductory, like this is what the first person this is what you should play as your first time playing D&D, is something like a fighter or a barbarian. And then the opposite end of that spectrum is the wizard, where if you're playing a wizard for the first time, you're going to have a real shit time, like getting the specific, you're going to be really, it's a lot of reading. It's a lot of reading and tracking stuff.
Right.
More so than any other of the classes if you're a caster.
Yeah, there's a sliding scale of like complexity to simplicity.
There you go. That's a better way to state it.
The thing is, like, yeah, one can point towards like the the fighter and the rogue, especially like the champion and the thief as like the real go-to for first timers. And that is generally true. Like they're the simplest, right? But I think everyone has like a different level of like they enter the learning curve at like different heights.
It's true.
Like,
yeah,
I am a person who like, I get into stuff that no one around me gets into because they're too complicated to learn.
Right.
Like, I'm barely able to get my fiance to play the Pokemon trading card game with me sometimes. And that is a pretty simple game to pick up compared to a lot of other things that I'm into, right? So I'm kind of used to like sinking my teeth into the more complex options, but for some people that is just a non-starter. They do not have time for that shit.
Yeah.
And so yeah, in that case you point them towards the fighter.
Yeah, you might. I still would say don't play a wizard on your first D&D game.
Right.
And maybe your
Unless
third D&D game might be, you're like, I need more.
Right.
Okay, well, here's the wizard.
Yeah.
Have a ball.
I would say don't do it unless you know you're that kind of person. And honestly, you probably know if you're that kind of person. You probably already know you're that kind of person.
Yeah, and then you could play like with the box wizard to know for like a test. I'm just saying like at least test it out.
I would say don't multi-class your first time. That's the main one that I would say. Do not multi-class your first time. Learn your class. But yeah, if you know you're the kind of person who likes to sink your teeth into stuff, then yeah, go ahead. You could play a wizard. You'll be fine.
So this is because it seems like they're addressing approachability here in this.
I think in a good way.
Okay.
All right. So they, just like all the other subclasses, the wizard only gets 4 subclasses. I say only because they originally got 8, one for each school of magic, but because they want to do this uniformity thing. And I mean, I'm fine with it. I kind of don't care one way or another, whether they had all 8 or they didn't, or if they had more than 4 of the domains when the cleric comes up. For whatever reason, they wanted it to be more quote unquote fair and everyone gets 4. That's fine.
They're going to have 8.
Eventually, yeah. You're going to get the other 4.
Yeah.
My guess would be at some point we get another player source book that has 4 more subclasses for each class, right?
Yeah, you think they're not going to do that? They're going to do that.
Yeah, it would be weird if they didn't. But anyways, the 4 that we do get are the Abjurer, the Evoker, the Diviner, and the Illusionist. Again, 4 different schools of magic.
I love that movie.
Let's start. That is a good movie. Let's start with the Abjurer, though, which is not a movie as far as I know. So now your arcane ward can be refilled directly using spell slots. I think before you had to cast an abjuration spell. And now
to refill
your arcane ward, which is like a damage negation ward that, your magic. Now I believe you could just directly use a spell slot to recharge it. And now resistances and immunities are taken into consideration first before the ward takes damage, which is useful because the ward is like a flat amount of damage that it wards off. So you cutting the damage in half first and then mitigating it from there is overall better mathematically, and your ward might actually survive, rather than get taken out and then it gets cut in half.
I guess for context, like, because this isn't only just like the 5.5 stuff is coming out. This is a reflection on 5e. Like we're doing comparisons here, just so people are aware. You're the glass cannon as the wizard, so the idea here is you're going to spend all this time and resources like putting out a really cool magic spell that's going to do some fucking awesome crazy shit, and then when you get hit you die.
They are squishy.
So you're low AC, low HP. That's kind of the shtick with wizards, and you can kind of build them to mitigate that.
Yeah,
but
you definitely
typically it's not really going to work out for you. These are the pitfalls of being a wizard. You don't want to get hit, and so features are going to supplement like taking damage, or maybe you cast a spell to up your AC.
Yeah, specifically with the Abjurer, that's kind of their thing. You do get one new feature though at level 10. It's called Spellbreaker. So you get the counter spell and dispel magic as always prepared spells, and they do not use spell slots if they fail.
Cool.
which is very useful.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Also, you can cast Dispel Magic as a bonus action, which is also very
That's
useful.
fucking cool.
It's very cool, very powerful. Really like this new feature.
Makes a lot of sense. That means you can cast. Can you cast Dispel Magic and another spell? Am I?
Probably cantrip. You probably stuck to a cantrip.
Yeah,
but
there you
yes,
go.
Yeah. You
That's
can.
a cool turn, though.
It is a cool turn. Yeah, absolutely. It is.
Fucking firebolting
And
somebody
like,
after
also,
you take down their.
You're the Abjurer specialist. You are a specialist at taking out, magical wards and putting up magical wards and dispelling magic and all that other stuff. You should be able to do this particular thing better than other wizards.
There you go.
That's it for the Abjurer. Moving on to the Evoker.
Right.
So the Evoker has even less. Because the Evoker was already very, very powerful. Like, if you wanted to play a Blaster caster, it was the Evoker, and it was because of the Sculpt spells feature. Period.
Yes,
End of
Sculpt
story.
is so good.
It is so good.
Yeah, so Sculpt is just you can protect your allies in AoE
Yeah, exactly.
spells.
So the one change for Evoker is that Potent Cantrip and Sculpt spells have swapped places. So Potent Cantrip now, so you would get Potent Cantrip, I believe, at level 2. And then you would get Sculpt skills at level 6. So you have to wait a little bit longer for Sculpt spells. That's the main thing.
So they're swapping places with that.
Yeah, so it's a little bit of a debuff. It's like you got to wait a little longer.
Uh-huh.
But Potent Cantrip now applies to missed spell attacks as well as successful saving throws. So basically, I believe Potent Cantrip, you get to add your intelligence modifier to your cantrip.
Okay.
But before, it only applied to spells that had an attack roll, so like Ray of Frost or Firebolt. But there are certain ones that require a save instead. I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Chill Touch, I think, is a saving throw, maybe?
Oh, man.
Acid Splash almost definitely is. So those, you get to add your intelligence modifier.
I
as well.
see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that's it. Basically, it's like we made Potent Cantrip better, and we made you have to wait for Sculpt spells a little longer, and that's it.
Okay. I mean,
I'm fine with that.
that seems okay with me.
Yeah, it's like a minor tweak. That's It makes evokers have to work a little harder to get really good, And I agree with that. Like, as conceptually speaking.
Yes. Like, as somebody who trains to increase their level of skill.
Indeed.
It works for me.
All right, next up we have the Diviner. So this one is also, like the Evoker, largely the same, and that's because the Diviner is a very fucking powerful subclass. If you've never ran one, I've only messed around with it in Baldur's Gate 3, but dear God, being able to roll d20s ahead of time and then apply them where you want later is so good.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, so it's largely the same as before, but the third eye feature gives you 120-foot dark vision and the ability to cast See Invisibility without a spell slot, but you lose your ethereal sight.
Oh.
So it's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay.
Whatever. Yeah.
So, like, you're doing Diviner, obviously, it's doing divination magic.
Right.
Scry, see the future with the
Yeah.
D20 thing, like you're talking about. Okay. Sort of touch on. I mean, some of these are self-explanatory, like the Evoker, you're just blaster caster, like you were saying. Like,
Yeah,
you do
yeah.
fire magic.
Yeah, that
mostly.
one's obvious,
You
yeah.
blow people up.
Yeah. Anything on the Diviner? Or moving
No,
on?
I mean, like, I never played it. I never even really considered playing it.
Yeah.
Just because wizards are big in my head. Like, I'm not trying to spend all this time to do. Sometimes we want swing sword, talk funny voice.
Yeah.
That's
Gotcha.
all. That's all I'm at the table for.
100%.
But I like, now that I'm dungeon mastering a lot more, I like when my players take an interest in something like this, and I get to work alongside them to see how people's approaches change to playing these classes.
Righto. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, the last one is the Illusionist, and it is by far the most overhauled. Like, for sure,
Oh
the most
shit!
overhauled.
Yeah, there's a lot there.
So they were advertising this one as it's like a reinvented subclass, like it's its own new subclass, basically. And I would mostly agree with that. So first off, we get a new feature at level 3 called Improved Illusions. So you can now ignore verbal components for illusion spells and can cast Minor Illusion as a bonus action. Creating illusions silently so your cover isn't blown immediately. This one, I think, is great because the Illusionist, more so than any other wizard besides the Enchanter, probably relies on subtlety and stealth for their casting. You are trying to trick people.
Yeah.
It's harder for your illusions to trick people if you're going abracadabra, you know? Like
Will
you're
is waving his
your
hands above
around.
the microphone, yeah.
And speaking words and all that other stuff, you know?
It's true.
It's like, well, you're obviously casting a spell, and that pink elephant wasn't there before.
No, all of it's a lie.
Yeah,
None
so-
of that's true.
so this-
Abraca-fuck you.
Fuck you. Also, Minor Illusion is good, but it always feels bad to cast it, and it takes your full action.
Yeah.
So you
does.
are better at illusions than anyone else. You sneeze and a minor illusion comes out. Like you are they're nothing to you. They are a bonus action.
Yeah. It's like, I thought it was a fart, but it was an minor illusion spell.
Exactly. Also, any illusion spell that has a range of at least 10 feet now has an extended range of 60 feet.
Good.
And that's
Good.
also great because that feeds into, like, again, you don't want people to know you're casting a spell. So, like, it's hard to pass off your illusion as real when you're over there casting it and being the cause of it versus if no one can see you, you're somewhere hidden.
Right. Like, I would really love this to be over there, but I can't be there or it fucks up the thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think this is a very necessary change, and it's a good change. And I'm not an illusionist guy, but if I was, I would love that.
I might be interested in doing this class now because
Yeah.
before I had all these problems that they're addressing here are why I didn't play it.
Yeah, that's fair. Next up, we have another new feature at level 6, Phantasmal Creatures. Now, this is where we take a little bit of a turn in, not that this feature is bad. It's not. It's good. It's just, it was a direction I wasn't expecting.
Okay.
So you get the Summon Beast and Summon Fae spell. Mm-hmm. Classically conjuration spells.
Yes.
You can change the school of magic of these spells from conjuration to illusion.
Okay.
If you do this, the summons do not cost a spell slot, but they do have half HP of whatever their base stats would be.
Okay.
And now this is once a day. And there's once a day for each. So each of these you can cast once a day for free. No spell slot needed, but they're illusions and they have half HP.
So you're casting like a hard light illusion, basically.
Yes,
That can
that's the
interact with
idea.
stuff.
Yes, exactly.
All right.
Which is cool, except for I'm pretty sure with Summon Fae you can summon pixies, and those motherfuckers can polymorph you. So I don't know if that's going to still be true with the new monster manual, but like
Yeah, Summon Pixie is
the shenanigans might be a little too extreme, but you know, I won't know until the stories start coming out. So we'll all find out together.
that's true. Because summoning creatures is like a wizardly thing, right?
Yeah, usually a conjurer
Yes.
thing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So we have an elemental.
By the way, the Conjurer kind of sucks from the Player's Handbook, so I look forward to when they do a revision of the Conjurer.
Yeah, it better be this, but hardcore, basically.
Yes, that's yeah.
All right.
It better be a fucking Pokemon trainer, basically.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking here. Is like this is like light Pokemon trainer light. Like
Yeah.
Whereas the druid, you are the Pokemon,
Yeah, exactly.
or maybe like okay, so you got like
yeah,
sort
you
of.
become the Pokemon.
There were a lot of things that happened in 5e where classes and like revamps of classes and subclasses were branching into the territory of other things like the that barbarian, the nature barbarian.
Yeah, the Storm Herald.
The Storm Herald.
Yeah.
Like, why isn't this just a druid power? And now it is.
Yeah. Well, okay, so we talked a little bit about the barbarian in not the last 5.5 episode, but the one before that, and you were having trouble with the world tree. And I realized one of the things that I think shapes my perception of the D&D barbarian is because it came from 4th edition. In 4th edition, all the classes were not only divided into roles, but they were divided into power sources, right? Mm-hmm. So you had the arcane classes and the divine classes, and you had the martial classes. And the martial classes were the ranger, the rogue, the fighter, and the warlord.
Okay.
But then you had the primal classes, the classes that got their power from the primal life force of the earth.
Like, getting mad.
The rage was part of that, right? So that was the druid, the warden, the shaman, and the barbarian. And so I've always had this connection of the barbarian and like primal energies, like from day one of D&D for me.
Yeah, okay.
So
that makes a lot more sense.
So that's why it just made sense, and I didn't even think about it not making sense until you brought it up.
Well, there's a disconnect clearly in 5 from 4e to 5e where they don't explain that.
They don't. You just you got the totem warrior. That was your basic. That was your connection. That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah.
You can kind of incept that. I mean, like you can draw the dots together, and I kind of did, but like with the world tree, yeah, I did struggle with the world tree. I still am. I haven't thought about it that much. I was just waiting for it to actually come out before I really grapple with it.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get back to the Illusionist.
Yeah.
Next up, illusory self feature now procs on a hit instead of being attacked, and you can restore your use of this feature by expending a spell slot of level 2 or higher. I believe this was like a reaction thing where it would up your armor class or
Did you have
cause
you had these
disadvantage.
up, right?
I did last recording.
No.
Hold on, I got this. Illusionist. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was a reaction that you could. Someone's attacking you, or like, I want to use my illusory self reaction, which you had a limited number of uses, and it would cause, I think, them to have disadvantage on hitting you.
Oh, I see.
You create an illusory duplicate of yourself in an instant, almost instinctually reaction to danger. When a creature makes an attack roll against you, you can use your reaction to interpose an illusory duplicate between the attacker and yourself. The attack automatically misses you, then the illusion dissipates. So the thing is, you would have to do that before they rolled, and then you would do it, and they roll a 1, and you're like, well, that sucks.
Right.
I wasted it, right?
Yes.
Now you can do it as a reaction on a hit.
That's
Makes
good.
way more sense. That's just the way it should have always worked.
This is what they're doing across the board. Anything that was like, well, I did this and it was wasted.
Yeah, they're
Like-
trying to eliminate that, which
Yeah.
I think that's a good game design.
It's
want
good
to
for
eliminate
games.
That.
It's
Yeah.
good for playing the game.
Yeah.
It made sense, like the other way in reality. That's how it
Right,
would work in reality.
exactly.
But for playing a game,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm here for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And lastly, there is now a section in the glossary on illusions that answers the most frequently asked questions that come up when dealing with illusions. They weren't specific, but the fact that that exists is a good thing, and hopefully it does do exactly what they say it does.
Cool.
So,
Yeah.
those are the 4 wizard subclasses. That was the wizard. How are you feeling?
Pretty good, especially with this illusionist one.
The illusionist one, good. Definitely.
They're listening to what people are complaining about and being practical with how they are implementing fixes for it without getting carried away is what it feels like.
Yeah, I agree.
Bringing the power level up instead of dropping everybody's power level. They're kind of just raising power creep. 5.5 is just
Oh,
power
it's definitely
creep.
power creep. Yeah. I will say this. The Illusionist, blatant improvement. Needed it. Good. The summon creatures thing is a little weird, but I'm on board. It may be weird, but it's not bad. But as for the other 3, I feel very neutral about. I'm like, the changes for the most part are okay. They're fine. But it doesn't move my needle one way or another. And that's okay. But this is what I mean, where before I feel like I was pretty much overall feeling positively about the other 6 classes we've talked about. This is the first one where I'm mostly just neutral with the exception of one subclass. After the short rest, we're getting into the Ranger, and the tone of my voice and my soul is going to change.
Oh God, I'm with you on the summon beast thing. I'm trying to think like maybe the damage types that those beasts that you summon output becomes like psychic damage. You create an illusion so good it feels real.
Yeah, I think that would be a good change if it's so.
The original Illusionist did stuff like that later down the road, or at least there were magic spells that could make an illusion so good it did things to the world around it.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where they're leaning into. You get that a little earlier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like a weakened version of it. So like, all the information isn't out yet, right?
No,
this
it
is
is not.
teaser information that we can speculate on. So
Exactly.
when it does come out, we'll go over the robustness of what really is here in its full scale.
Yeah.
Probably one class at a time.
Yeah,
or whatever.
absolutely.
So it's a Dungeoncast reset alongside the 5.5, edition reset. We're all gonna run through this together. So.
Yeah, we're learning together.
But looking at it from this bird's eye view they've given us, I feel really good about where we're going, what direction we're heading in.
Yeah, so far, even with my strong feelings about the Ranger, yes, I feel very positively. I have a lot to say about the Ranger, but we're going to get that after the short rest.
Let's rest for a little while.
Indeed.
we've returned.
Indeed we
We're
have.
fucking back.
Indeed we are.
And Dungeons and Dragons is back with new stuff.
Indeed it is.
What are we gonna? Oh, you can. I don't know if Alien Beer is back or not yet. It might be 401.
We're still debating.
We're not sure yet. But either way, you can support us on patreon.com/thedungeoncast. That's probably the best way to monetarily support us. It's the best way to support us aside from telling people about the show, leaving an Apple Podcast review, all that stuff. Don't forget to send some emails so that we can read them in the Tavern Talk portion of the show. The priority list for addressing feedback from the audience is Apple Podcast reviews or any reviews of that nature take top priority. And we will read those first. Then we will read emails if we have them. And then we just kind of go down the list to like whatever's left in terms of YouTube comments, which is like we're just kind of reading things that got splattered onto a comment section or relevant stuff in Discord that we might be implementing in the near future that might supersede the YouTube comments. YouTube's at the bottom of the list, but we always get to it. So they're fun to interact with. That's how that works. Get them in. We'll get them on the next round whenever it comes up. Or you can, everything is second to physical mail. Send us physical mail to our P.O. box. I got to go by the P.O. box. I didn't have a chance because I was on vacation. But I will before our next recording.
Cool.
I William. Will, tell me about the Ranger. Tell me what the Cross says about the Ranger.
I'll tell you what the Cross says about the Ranger. So Crawford mentions at the beginning of their Ranger video that the Ranger is one of the most played classes in the entire game, according to all the information they have access to. But it is also shown to have one of the absolute lowest satisfaction rating according to the 1D&D playtest. And that has been my experience.
That tracks.
That tracks.
I don't know about this most played shit.
Oh, well, I mean, they have the data. They track D&D Beyond, and they've been doing polls for 10 years now.
Oh,
So
all right.
It is by far, I would say that it probably ranks in the 3 most popular classes of the game, for sure.
Okay.
It's definitely one of my favorites in theory. The Ranger Fantasy is one of my favorites.
Sure.
He also goes on to claim that the overhaul of the 5.5 Ranger has been so dramatic that we are looking at an entirely new class. Is this a true statement?
Like, how can it be that different? All right, let's find out.
Well, the thing is, when he said that, everyone who was a Ranger fan, ears perked up. The light of hope went back up in our eyes, and our hearts began to thrum.
I mean, I'm suspicious as fuck of that.
So I guess it depends on what you mean when it comes to a new class. But let's go over the changes, and then we'll circle back.
Okay.
So first off, spellcasting is now level 1 instead of level 2, like the new Paladin.
Cool.
Good choice. Agree with that. Let me actually, I feel mixed about it. I feel great about it in that, like, yes, if the Ranger's going to be a spellcaster, like the Paladin, a half-caster, then yeah, getting it at level 1 is good. My quibble is, I don't know if Rangers should be casters at all. They have historically, I maybe in 3rd edition they were casters. I'm pretty sure in 1st and 2nd they never were. And in 4th they certainly were not. So when the 5e Ranger came out and it was casting, I was kind of like, this is weird. It's not what I usually do, but okay. But yes, level 1 casting instead of level 2 is, I think, pretty objectively good. Our Rangers who can also now use Druidic Focuses, which was previously an option in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, but now they've made it like the standard.
Yeah.
Rangers can prepare more spells now than they could learn before. They can also switch out 1 prepared spell per day. This one's good because the Ranger has been at a pretty big disadvantage compared to its other half-caster brother, the Paladin. Mm-hmm. So the Paladins have access to their whole spell list, a la Cleric, while Rangers have had to learn a limited number similar to the Sorcerer. Rangers need more versatility to achieve the adaptable survivalist fantasy that they're meant to, not less. I also think it's interesting because druids, just like clerics, have access to their whole spell list, and the Ranger is definitely like the equivalent to the druid that the Paladin is to the cleric, right?
Okay.
So it was always really weird to me that Rangers had such a limit. Like, no, which spells did you learn? Okay, now which one of those did you prepare?
Yeah,
like
all right.
That's always felt
that.
crappy to me.
Yeah,
and it's still kind of like that, but they've expanded it a bit.
Okay.
While the Paladin, who, don't get me wrong, I love Paladins, second favorite class or tied for first favorite class for me, but they don't strike me as like the studious, or they don't strike me as someone who has that versatility the Ranger should have and just has access to whatever they want whenever they want it. Is weird to me.
Okay.
But anyways, next up is level 1, new version of the favorite enemy feature. So you always have Hunter's Mark spell prepared.
Bread and butter.
You can cast Hunter's Mark twice per long rest without expending a spell slot. This number increases as you level up.
That seems powerful.
Okay, so this is going to be the crux of the biggest issue, right? Because yes, it does seem powerful. But you're going to see as we keep going that this feature becomes the huge problem because everything is going to be built on this feature. And the problem with this feature is that Hunter's Mark takes concentration. And most other Ranger spells that are good also take concentration.
Oh.
And all your features get built on this feature. And so it becomes increasingly less beneficial for you to do anything but Hunter's Mark.
So we're talking about a feature with an old spell list and not whatever the new spell list is going to be and how those spells are going to work.
We do know that the new Hunter's Mark does take concentration. That has been confirmed.
Yeah, but the Ranger spells might be reworked.
Possibly.
Okay.
But
Maybe.
But in their spells episode, they did not, which released last week, they did not give us any signs that was the case. So we still don't know.
So what you would have to do is turn off your Hunter's Mark to cast another spell?
If it has concentration, yes.
All right.
Which, again,
Yep.
if this feature by itself is one thing, but the fact that a lot of these other features are going to be built on it, well, let's find out. So level 1, you also get Weapon Mastery. You can use the Weapon Mastery properties for 2 weapons of your choice. You get a Fighting Style at level 2. And you get to select Druidic Warrior instead of a Fighting Style if you want, which is, again, from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Level 2, you get Deft Explorer. This is another Tasha's option made standard, but with a caveat. So it replaces the Tasha option of Canny, which gives expertise in one skill and learns 2 languages. Deft Explorer from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything was broken out into 3 features in the 2024 Player's Handbook. So Deft Explorer, formerly just a Canny benefit, and then 2 other features we're going to talk about in a second, Roving and Tireless.
Okay.
Did that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you get Roving at later. Instead of getting all this at level 2, it gets split up. Right. Roving at level 6, you gain 10 feet of speed, as well as a climb speed and a swim speed. This is another Tasha's option made standard.
Very
it's a
useful.
good one, though. It's very useful. But are you starting to see a pattern? The pattern of this was supposed to be a new class. Instead, you're just giving everything that was in Tasha's already.
Oh, I mean, so far, yes.
Yeah. Level 9, Expertise. You gain expertise and 2 additional skills. Level 10, you get Tireless, which again is part of the Tasha Deft Explorer trio. Use an action to gain temporary hit points. You can now reduce exhaustion by 1 level by taking a short rest. The exhaustion one is it's fine. But exhaustion, it just depends on your game, I suppose, whether it's coming up a lot and whether you're having to fight through it.
Yeah, this is what I was worried about is, okay, are you revamping it to be more versatile in all types of games, or are you just sort of retooling it to be what it was?
Yeah.
Where the Ranger shines in certain types of games and does not in other types of games.
Right.
I'm
Which is a
sort of
major issue.
sad to see it's sort of getting rolled out to pretty much be what it was.
Yeah. So level 13, we get Relentless Hunter. So damage no longer threatens to break your concentration on Hunter's Mark, right? So, this is good in that it does make Hunter's Mark better. It means that, you don't got to worry about losing concentration once you pop it now. Hunter's Mark is just a thing that's happening now. And there's nothing that can break your concentration on it. Or maybe not nothing.
For other concentration spells.
Except for other concentration spells, or if someone has something that causes you to lose concentration that isn't damage. Which is rare.
They tickle your feet.
Yeah, I guess so. Level 14, we get a feature called Nature's Veil. This is another Tasha's option with some minor tweaks. Use a bonus action to become invisible until the end of your next turn. Mostly unchanged from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything. Is now at level 14, and the number of uses is tied to your Wisdom modifier instead of your Proficiency bonus, which that is a weird downgrade.
Yeah.
A weird downgrade that also kind of makes me nervous.
It pigeonholes you into building your Ranger a certain way.
It does. But also, I'm like, if we did this to the Ranger, who's to say that other things that that since Tasha's we've always tied to proficiency bonus have now changed? Because this, to me, would be a backward step.
I like proficiency bonus because it scales
with your character
independently.
Yeah.
For everyone the same way, as long as you're all the same levels or whatever.
Exactly.
And then tying stuff to these scores is my problem because it changes the customization of like, well, if you're going to play Ranger, you better pump it into Wisdom or you're going to have a bad time.
And the thing is, of all classes, the Ranger has the biggest problem with multiple ability bonuses because already their skills and spells and weapon attacks have them spread across Strength, Dex, and Wisdom, and then Con because you need some HP. Just further exacerbating the issue, to me, is bad.
Yeah, and that nature is an intelligence check is like
weird in itself too.
And that, well, yeah, you have to know. Well, you need wisdom.
Weird,
you need wisdom to make.
Ranger. Yeah.
You need wisdom to make this class output at its full potential. But you should have a high score in nature checks because you're a ranger. Yeah. But now, if you don't pump into intelligence, which this kind of tells you not to.
Yeah, don't do that. The expertise is supposed to kind of cover that, but yeah, it's still, the issue's still there.
Yeah, I can expertise my nature score to. We're getting in the weeds, and I know the ranger likes to do that, but like this is bad. Yeah, that was a joke. That was a nature joke.
It was. All right, so then we get a couple new features. We get level 17 new feature, Precise Hunter. Gain advantage on attack rolls against the creature currently marked by Hunter's Mark. That's cool. You get it real late, but that's fine, I guess. Whatever. Like,
advantage is powerful,
and since you're always gonna have Hunter's Mark going, like, sure. So you always have advantage on whatever you're killing. I do think you get it late though, pretty damn late. But the worst offender is gonna be the last one. Your capstone feature, new feature, Foe Slayer, level 20. Your Hunter's Mark now deals an additional D10 damage instead of D6. So this one's truly ass because while the paladin's changing into justice avatars with like 50 new things that they can do, and the archdruid's becoming an immortal that could do like all this other cool stuff, your D6 becomes a D10.
I rolled a 2 on my D10.
Yeah. Or even if you do roll higher most of the time, like congratulations, mathematically speaking, this translates to a +2 damage. That's pretty horrible for a level 20 maximum level character for their capstone feature. That's crazy to me. And I do not know how this got out of testing.
It's called Foe Slayer too.
Oh, that's a joke. That is such a sick joke.
Like that, like your D6 boosting to a D10 is really going to take down that many extra foes. Like you said, a +2 damage as, over time, you'll see that bonus.
Exactly.
But for a single hit, this should be like my fucking Kamehameha.
Yeah.
Like, this should be my my game breaker.
Something. Yeah. So
okay, overall, because we're at the end of
the base.
The
class,
basic.
Yeah.
Overall, what I'm looking at here is bad.
It's not good. A lot of people suggested it.
Maybe not bad. I don't think maybe not bad. Bad might be strong.
A lot of people suggested it, but and I agree with it to a certain extent. But the main problem here is that we decided to make Hunter's Mark like the keystone of the class, but we kept it a spell, and we've never done that before, and it's never been done where a single spell is like tied to a class's identity. The closest you could even think of is the Hex Warlock, and the Hex is not that important. Like honestly, Hex in a lot of cases is kind of bad. Like it's okay. And it works well in certain builds, but as a warlock, you could just never do Hex anything, and you're fine.
Yeah, I like Hex where it sits.
Exactly,
it's fine where it sits right
exactly.
now.
My suggestion, my gut reaction, like my jerk reaction to this is like Hunter's Mark should not be a spell. Period. It should be a feature. It was a feature in 4th edition. It was called Hunter's Quarry. The great thing about features and spells is you can make them in such a way where they don't mess with each other, right? And then what we can do is we can make it so that as you level up, your base feature gets stronger and stronger and stronger, and much stronger than this dumb shit. Don't give me this D10 at level 20. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is wild. I'm not so hurt about it because like how the way I play, like
Yeah.
how often am I ever gonna fucking be here?
Yeah. So
But if I'm gonna play let's play a level 20 game because that's popular. You can do that with experienced players. Is like let's do the level 20 game. This sucks. You're not picking the ranger.
no,
when you play
definitely
that
not.
game.
Definitely not. Well, and the other thing too is like these are the upgrades you get for this thing that you're kind of like shoehorned into doing, which is Hunter's Mark all the time, but you don't even get the stuff that improves it until way late in the game. But another thing that bugs me here, and this is a 5e problem, it's not just a ranger problem. So 5e has this problem of not having really solid fleshed out exploration rules, right?
Yes.
Which obviously that's where the ranger should shine, is in exploration.
Right.
Like I said, I've been playing some Castles and Crusades lately with a group, and I'm playing a ranger. I did a remake of my original D&D character from 4th edition, and let me tell you, this ranger has a lot of features. And guess what? Almost all of them, not all of them, but almost all of them are related to exploration. And they make it so that the ranger could do all this cool, crazy shit, no matter where they're exploring, better than anyone else. And it's stuff that will come up. You know, and part of it is a design thing where it's like, if the game doesn't say you can do it, you either can't do it or you can do it at a major difficulty check, which causes the ranger to shine at what they do and the rogue to shine at what they do, et cetera, et cetera. The other kind of end of it, though, is that you don't feel like you're losing out that much on combat because everything is so simple. This is basically Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. So, like, yeah, is the fighter better at combat? Yes, but in kind of a weird, specific way where, like, they get better accuracy at hitting things and they get multiple attacks when it comes to hitting things that are, like, so weak they're like a one-hit kill. So basically the fighter in this tabletop RPG is like, oh, we just ran into a room with a bunch of kobolds, so this fighter's about to go on a killing spree because it can like bam, bam, bam.
Yeah.
But when it comes to just to like, hey, we're hitting the dragon, the ranger is only slightly worse than the fighter, as it should be, because the fighter should be better at fighting than the ranger. But the ranger has all this other cool stuff that it can do that the fighter certainly can't.
Yeah.
So,
I think the difference there should be like hitting versus getting hit. Fighter should be good at both. Ranger might be slightly worse at both.
sure, yeah. There's an endless amount of ways in which you can translate this idea, but like very few of these things, except for I like roving a lot, which is you gain extra speed and you gain a climb and swimming speed, but very little of this has anything to do with exploration whatsoever. And to me, like that's a huge part of the class.
I think
fantasy.
keep it where it was before. Move that level 9 and 10 feature down to level 6 with the roving. Tie it back together. Canny, right? Just keep doing that. That's fine. Move these features that you're getting up here at the top down. Come up with new fucking better features for your end game stuff, your capstone stuff.
Yeah.
That's the fix here.
I think my fix would be
and then moving Hex off back to whatever they were doing in 4E. Hunter's Quarry.
I think
that
it should
sounds
be-
way better.
Yeah, I think it should be a feature, and what's great, it just make it scale. So it's a D6, and then at level 7 it's 2D6, and then at level 14 it's 3D6.
Yeah,
right?
you want to be
Whatever.
original, call it Ranger's Mark.
Yeah, who cares? I don't care what you call it.
Yeah.
But then that frees up spells, which the Rangers should be casting their cool Ranger spells because they have a bunch that only they get. Oh, and then on top of it, like you can add sub features to the Ranger's Quarry, like being able to discern weaknesses and vulnerabilities of your enemy.
Information
Or getting
gathering should be huge here.
or gaining advantage, or
If you're going-
as it keeps leveling.
If you're going into a dungeon and your ranger is scouting ahead, they should know what's in here, generally speaking.
yeah,
Like I
or a
found,
way of finding out,
guys,
you know?
I found a lot of goblin shit.
so much.
They like to bury it in sand. I
Yeah.
found piles of sand. There's goblin shit in there. We got goblins in here. There's random bones. Skeletons are going to be in it. Like in ranger scouts, like a rogue can scout also. The ranger should be better at scouting and information gathering than even the rogue. And
Right.
they can get more places. The 10 feet of speed, the climbing speed, the swim speed. Like,
Yeah. So another, and again, we haven't got to the subclasses, but another really bad sentiment that unfortunately isn't wrong is that, like, if you want to fulfill your ranger fantasy, it is still better to either build a rogue or fighter and then pick backgrounds and flavor that gives you the nature stuff that you want. Because there already isn't really a good infrastructure for the exploration. So they've reduced exploration to speeds and skill checks. Well, maybe you can't get roving, but what you can do is get the fucking skill checks that you want that make you naturey, right?
right.
And And like, again, a lot of people's Ranger fantasy doesn't have anything to do with spells anyway, so who cares? What are you even missing out on? Hunter's Mark, ooh.
Yeah, if you're going to tie me to wisdom, where's my nature can be used with your wisdom score? Where's that here? Like, what are we doing?
And then lastly is, and this one's a more of a personal quibble, so I'm not going to completely hold it against them, but there is another part of the Ranger class fantasy that is the Ranger has been traditionally tied to archery and two-weapon fighting more so than any other class, right? Like, like the fighter can do both, but like the Ranger has like a certain special something when it comes to archery and two-weapon fighting. And two-weapon fighting has been historically bad in 5e, but also like there's nothing in here that could possibly make a Ranger better at two-weapon fighting than a fighter in any way, shape, or form. But that's a personal quibble. That's like a me thing. So I'm not going to hold that against them. But if I were to design the Ranger, you bet your ass it's going to be good at two-weapon fighting.
I think if we consolidate features the way I want to up here.
Yeah, consolidation needs to happen, like you're saying.
That could be something you add in.
Yeah.
Like those gaps could be filled.
Yeah.
Because now there's space to add them. Instead, you spread all this stuff out. Everyone was fine with Tasha's the canny feature or whatever. I remember people being like, we needed this. This is good.
Tasha's is, I rather play the Tasha straight up than this, honestly. But anyways, let's get to the subclasses, because I have some stuff when it comes specifically to the hunter, but let's get into it. So we're gonna start with the Beastmaster, which was canonically it was considered the worst, one of the worst subclasses.
Yes.
Like, I'm not sure if that's really gonna change much, but it uses the Primal Beast templates from Tasha's rather than the Beast monster stat blocks. These stats scale better than before. That was good. Yeah, it was good, and apparently these ones scale even better, which is good also. Specifically, their AC and damage scale with your Wisdom stat. Again, with the Wisdom stat, but that's fine. Whatever. It scales.
Because you can like ride this animal, right? Like your beast. You can like get on it and do stuff like that. Or it depends on what you pick,
I'd have to look at the template, but I'm not sure.
Okay.
Then, like the Tasha version, you can command it to attack with a bonus action, which would be good because, again, before you had to use your action. But guess what your bonus action is going to be used on all the time? Your Hunter's Quarry, which half of your features are built around.
I mean, the first time, like round one.
Yeah, the first.
If you can't mark it before combat.
But it also doesn't feel great when like you can't get your character online in the first turn, you know? But you're right. It is only for the first turn. But it's a double problem because Hunter's Quarry clogs the first turn bonus action, but it also clogs your concentration. So it's like this feature that's a cornerstone that's clogging your other features from working right.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Like you said, you can't get your character online turn one. You should be able to do that.
You should be able to do that.
And you said Hunter's Quarry again.
I did. Sorry.
It's okay.
But you know what I mean.
Everybody knows
Hunter's Mark. Sorry, my bad. See, you can share spell buffs with your companion at higher levels. That's good.
Okay.
Your Hunter's Mark eventually also benefits your companion, which is also good.
We like that.
We do like that because, if you're attacking twice on your turn and then they're attacking, you're proccing your Hunter's Mark 3 times.
If you're going to make me Hunter's Mark, please have do as much as it can.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So that's the Beastmaster. It is definitely an improvement from the original Beastmaster. But it doesn't satisfy me entirely as a Beastmaster lover. But
that's the thing here. As I knew this was going to happen, this is built on the last thing that we just said we didn't like.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's the problem. It's not even that it's the Beastmaster I don't like. It's that the base has issues that make the Beastmaster less good.
And it's going to do that to every subclass.
It is. Yes.
So
yes.
Oh well.
You're right. Fey Wanderer is a real quick one. It's exactly the same as Tasha's, so no changes.
Oh.
Which, my understanding is Fey Wanderer has always been pretty good.
No notes.
Gloomstalker is kind of similar with a couple changes. Dread Ambusher feature has been changed, so Dreadful Strike is not only limited to the first round of combat, as with like our assassin changes.
Okay.
Now it has a limited number of uses a day instead.
All right.
So it's like extra damage.
I can do that. I can.
And
I'm
it's
okay with that.
Yeah. Stalker's Flurry now increases Dreadful Strike damage and adds the option to frighten nearby foes, which is also thematically cool. And Shadowy Dodge also got an upgrade. I'm not sure. They weren't specific about what the upgrade was.
Okay.
Do you need me to pull up some of these features so we know what we're talking about here?
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
Like, I kind of got what Dread Ambusher is doing.
Yeah, let's pull it up. That's fair.
I remember going over these when they came out for Tasha's and being
good.
impressed.
Yeah, they're good. So Dread Ambusher, you give yourself a bonus to initiative rolls equal to your wisdom modifier. And at the start of your first turn of each combat, your walking speed increases by 10 feet, which lasts until the end of the turn. If you take the attack action on that turn, you can make one additional weapon attack as part of the action. If that attack hits, the target takes an additional extra 1d8 damage of the weapon's damage type. So basically, you can do all that, but it's not limited to the first turn of combat. It's instead, you can do this a number of times per day.
Okay. So you're just putting out a lot of damage now as a ranger.
Yeah, with this subclass, yeah.
Because Hunter's Mark is gonna stack on all of those, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Well, not stack. That's not the right term, but
I mean, it works. It's
pile up. The damage will pile up by the end of the turn.
Yes, without a doubt. And then Stalker's Flurry. You learn to attack with such an unexpected speed that you can turn a miss into a strike. Once on each of your turns, when you miss with a weapon attack, you can make another weapon attack as part of the same action. Instead, what's being done is it just increases the damage of your Dreadful Strike, which, again, you have multiple uses a day, and adds the option to frighten nearby foes. So they kind of completely changed it. Mm-hmm. And then it just said Shadowy Dodge gets an upgrade. So what did Shadowy Dodge originally do? At 15th level, you can dodge unforeseen ways with wisps of supernatural shadow around you. Whenever a creature makes an attack roll against you and doesn't have advantage on the roll, you can use your reaction to oppose disadvantage on it. You must use this feature before you know the outcome of the attack roll. So maybe they changed it to, my guess on an upgrade is they changed it to when on a hit instead of on an attack roll, right?
Sure, yeah.
That makes sense.
I agree.
That's my guess. All right, moving on. That's a Gloomstalker. Now, I mean, and to be fair, both Fey Wanderer and Gloomstalker are very good subclasses. I would go as far as to say is they are so powerful that were they to exist on a better class, they would be overpowered. And that's the kind of the issue is like the Ranger sucks, but the Fey Wanderer and Gloomstalker are such good subclasses that they make it not suck.
Yeah, so they're relying on the subclass features to sort of carry it through.
And they're good, flavorful subclasses. It's just like my main Ranger fantasy is neither Fey nor Shadowfell related. Which doesn't say you can't reflavor, but yeah, I just want to say that these subclasses are so good that they actually make the Ranger playable. But the base subclasses should also be either that. Well, the base class itself should just be better.
My Ranger fantasy sounds like a manga I haven't read yet.
My Ranger fantasy. Have you seen Delicious in Dungeon yet?
No, it's on the list.
It's so good.
I'm almost done with Big O.
So good. We just finished the first season.
It's Big O, probably that, and then Demon Slayer season 4 is just concluded. We're gonna run through that real quick.
For sure. All right, let's get to the final one, the Hunter. So, new feature at level 3, Hunter's Lore. Hunters can now identify strengths and weaknesses of any creature marked by Hunter's Mark. That would be cool, but we kind of just talked about this. This should just be a Ranger thing.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be the Hunter that gets it. Now, the Hunter should be better at the Hunter's Mark thing than everyone else, sure. But, like, this should be a base Ranger thing to me. Especially if you look at, like, the traditional old school features of, like, favorite enemy and favorite terrain, which I do think those are outdated and don't really work. But
this is our failure to launch subclass where you, like, never left your hometown. You never tried gloomstalking.
Right.
Know, like,
sure.
You just kept hunting.
We're
all hunters, bro.
We're all exactly.
We're all marking shit.
Next up, your Hunter's Prey feature has been narrowed down to fewer choices, but an added benefit of changing them whenever you finish a short or long rest. So it's been a very long time since we covered the Hunter.
Right.
So you probably don't remember, but the Hunter gets these different choice points where you get, like, quote unquote, these weird, like, hunting styles. There's Colossus Slayer and Horde Breaker.
That's right.
And they give you, like, different, like, Horde Breakers, like, you're good at multi-attacking multiple enemies. Colossus Slayer, like, you just get flat extra damage on big creatures and shit like that. And then there's, like, a defensive one you get later that's similar.
Yeah. Wasn't it like you pick one and you're stuck with it?
And you're stuck with it, right? So this is a step in the right direction of, like, you can change it in a short and long rest.
They're nerfing them all a little bit, but you can swap them out.
Yeah. But I was actually thinking about it, and I was thinking about the Hunter and, like, this idea of, like, the adaptability part of a Ranger. I'm like, this I feel like should be something that could be changed, that should be able to be changed mid-combat, like a battle stance, right? You enter the Horde Breaker stance, right? When
Yes,
it's multiple enemies.
fighting styles.
And it's like, oh
in a
shit,
way.
it's a giant. You're kind of like a fighting style. It's like we need to enter the Colossus Slayer.
Yeah,
like,
I cleared
approach.
I cleared the minions. Now it's time to fight big bad.
Exactly.
Switch it up.
And like just that ability to change it up mid-combat every turn, I think could elevate Hunter way higher into a very good subclass. And without being broken, if you ask me, but maybe I'm not seeing something the right way. But I think that is a major fix for this, on top of the base class also still needing to be fixed. But that's just my take. Finally, at higher levels, you could spread your Hunter's Mark damage to one additional creature within 30 feet. So it's like you get this extra like bonus splash damage.
I have always had gripes with this particular feature, like green flame blade and like stuff that's doing splash damage, unless it's like chain lightning. That's the one that jumps people, right? Or is it Witch Bolt?
Witch Bolt. Witch
one of
Bolt
them
sucks too, though.
One of them does. It depends. Witch Bolt can be really good. But stuff that jumps to other enemies is weird narratively.
You know when it was really, really good? Or fourth edition.
I knew
Why?
Because you love fourth edition.
No, but why would it be really good? Can you guess?
Oh, let's think about the battlefield.
Splash damage. When would splash damage be excellent?
You'll have to tell me.
When there's minions on the board.
Sure.
So,
like one-hit minions.
Minions, yes. So
you
like,
can just go to wipe some minions.
Yeah, so so it's not useful all the time, but it's useful, very useful in a specific situation. And it's cool to have it up your sleeve.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're right. In 5e, it's way less useful. So.
I mean, more damage is good.
Sure.
And I'm fine with it, but it doesn't make like how did I do that damage?
Yeah.
Is it psychic damage? Like what? How does that work?
To be fair, we don't have the feature to look at. My guess would be
it never
has
makes
to be
sense
within
to me
30
though.
feet. Yeah.
The fire
only way it
jumping
makes
from
sense-
people, I guess.
Well, that's magic. That's fine.
It's
right?
magic.
So the only thing that makes sense to me is like you get an extra arrow off at that guy over there
Yeah.
because you're just so good.
It's the what's his name from Guardians of the Galaxy? His little whistle fucking knife.
Oh, there we go.
Flies
Yeah,
around
yeah.
and hits everybody.
Yeah, Yondu.
You Yondu your arrow through a guy
Absolutely.
and at another guy, and then
Now,
then it's
how
out.
does this within 30 feet thing make sense if you're wielding two blades or a blade and a shield?
That's what I'm saying.
Or a two-handed weapon.
You're not always just shooting an arrow.
No, you're not always shooting an arrow.
I randomly like very quickly drop my weapon, throw a knife, and like pick my weapon back up before it hits the ground.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But there it is.
I don't like it.
Yeah, this is a big disappointment. Like, the community was pretty much unanimously outraged, and a lot of people were discussing the same fixes. When it came to the Hunter's Mark, I have that gripe, but also we talked about exploration fixes. I think are important, and then lastly, I think Beastmaster and Hunter still need some extra love, and I'm a fan of my fix for the Hunter, so.
This just feels like they really wanted to. Something stopped them from going all the way on this. They were like, this feels like they were scared to do something that was going to be broken.
Maybe.
Like they really don't want to. They want to fix the Ranger without breaking it.
Yeah.
So they keep doing things to not make it good enough.
Yeah, I just think there's just some fundamental issues here. And yeah, when I think about my original 4E Ranger, like I would never use the Ranger class. I'm going to build a half-elf fighter.
This feels like one D&D shit. Like when I was reading one D&D stuff that was coming out, I was like,
feels,
why would they do this?
It feels like it's undercooked.
Yes.
It feels like it's not complete. So,
like,
yeah, not a fan.
What a
bummer.
fucking letdown compared to everything else we've read so far.
Yes, it definitely sank my enthusiasm. And not that, like, obviously it's just the Ranger. Like, it's not like if everything else is great, it's still worth checking out the edition.
Well,
but like, it is a fucking bummer, dude.
Well, just before the Ranger, it was everything so far has been, okay, or better than that.
Yes.
Nothing so far has really been like, what the fuck? This is what the fucking mean.
Yes, exactly.
Right now. Like,
yes,
what
the Ranger is
what
the
fuck
first
is
one.
this?
Yes, it is. It is. And I even heard like some tinfoil hat theories of like, low-key Wizards hates the Ranger, doesn't know what to do with it, and they rather you just play the fighter or rogue. And like they're hoping that the Ranger scores so badly eventually we phase it out. Which I don't think is true. I don't think that's true.
Just not. You don't put time and resources into writing this.
Yes, exactly. But people are coping, man. Ranger fans are coping, man.
Yeah.
They're
just the fact that you made people have those ideas is
bad.
A testament to what you did wrong.
Indeed.
So sorry, Wizards, you did pretty good up until now.
Yeah.
This is shit.
This needs,
I'm not playing this.
I'm not playing this.
Maybe the Feywild.
I'll tell you what though, I'm playing around. I'm playing around with the idea of cooking up my own 5.5 Ranger. And if people on the show want to have us like maybe throw it at the end as like a little bonus segment of an episode,
I think that'd be way better as a Patreon exclusive.
Or a Patreon exclusive. Okay, maybe we'll put it on Patreon. We'll do a little Patreon episode of Will's Ranger.
Extra work we do. You want to check out Will's Ranger?
Yeah,
I'll make one too if it's for Patreon. Brian's Ranger.
Okay.
Ranger Danger.
Ranger Danger. Okay, let's do it.
Check out Ranger
I'm down
Danger
to do it. It'll be on Patreon.
We'll do the
All right,
third
guys.
one day.
That's it for the new reveals. They're going to be doing a lot more reveals this coming week as of recording time. So our next recording will be covering whatever it is they reveal.
The only thing that's more ass than this Ranger is the assassin, which has ass in it twice.
It does have ass in it twice.
And in.
I'll tell you what, if they do as good as they've been doing up to this point on the rest of the classes, I'll still be pretty enthused for 5.5. But if the rest of these classes are of the Wizard or worse in having me excited for the changes, I might be having a much more lukewarm feeling on
this is an on-paper reaction.
Yes.
Without things like leveling and adding feats. And
yeah, absolutely.
Like doing what is written.
We're working with the information that we have.
And looking at it in that regard, on paper, I would say I'm needing to tweak this still to make it functional, to add the things that we have addressed here.
Absolutely. Okay. Let's Tavern talk time.
Tavern talk.
Let's go to Tavern.
We've returned.
Here we have.
We're fucking back.
And here we are again.
Another one.
Here in the tavern.
We're in the tavern, and in front of us we have the Dungeoncast mailbag.
We do.
Has been given to us by our tavern keeper, Jortube. Who's Otube? What did you say?
YouTube. We're reading YouTube comments.
Oh, that's good. That's very good. Today we're reading YouTube comments.
Yeah, the bar Tube is in with the weekly news.
Yeah, that's the special bard that brings our stuff.
Yeah, he only comes every other week because we only do YouTube comments every other week.
Ish. He shows up
comes
sort
when he
of
comes.
randomly. Yeah.
That's just how Otube rolls.
Yeah, Otube, we paid him 2 gold and he brought us the comments.
All right, let's go. Let's do this.
Thanks, Otube. All right, I'm going to start with my slippies, which are still Heelys. As long as we're doing 5.5 episodes, my slippies are the newest, coolest, slipperiest slippies, which are Heely slippies.
Okay.
Dungeoncast branded.
Absolutely.
Roomba slippies.
Roomba
slips. They're picking up trash. They're picking up your comment trash. All right. So we're going to read comments from our first 5.5 episode that's titled New 2024 PHB Reveals, Fighter, Paladin, and Barbarian. That was episode, 397 or something like that?
Something like that.
At the Wizard says, not into the visualization aspects of D&D, as I've always been a theater of the mind kind of guy, but I get that that's by and large where players are going, like everywhere else in life. I tend to avoid online play because meat space is important to me, and I think D&D does its best work when you're at a table with real people and can make eye contact and laugh together. I get that that's not easy for everyone, but I do think it's good to push yourself on that front.
I do agree that D&D does its work best in person, 100%. That being said, it is not just difficult, it is oftentimes not possible for a lot of people.
Right.
And playing online is also incredibly rewarding and valuable and fun. Does it miss a little bit of something? Yeah, but that's nobody's fault and it's fine.
Yeah, you could have like a lag issue that might be kind of inserting itself into the
I be
flow.
having the lag issues on my last online game. It sucked. But everyone was very nice.
It's still, I feel like when you have a good group, you're you're operating at like 90+% on
Yeah,
those fronts
I think
too.
so.
Like,
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
with some of the, you are missing something.
Yeah.
There's clearly being in the room with people, sharing the air and the spit.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
And then I think when it comes to like VTT or like a board versus theater of the mind, there are pros and cons to both, and it's hard for me to pick one. I guess I would fall on the theater of the mind side, just because I think it lends itself to being more cinematic if everyone there is on board with like you as a DM taking liberties with descriptions, but also the players getting into and describing their own stuff too. Like that stuff's always awesome. And I think with VTTs, it could be a little easier for that to fall away when we're like, okay, my guy's going to move here and I'm going to use this roll, hit. I do this much damage. And then you just leave it at that where you could make it more flourishy and more like, okay, but what does that look like?
Yeah.
But I think the DM has to be a little bit more on like encouraging that in that environment.
Tips for flow of online play to kind of bring it forward to what you're missing from in-person play. I'm totally an advocate for online play when it makes sense. You have people long distance. It's safer to play online in terms of getting sick and things like that. Some people have immune system deficiencies. They need to do that. So, use it if you need to. I think if you have the opportunity to play in person, do that. When you're playing online, do the baton. I call it the baton pass. When somebody is done speaking and it's not always clear that they're done speaking and there is a lag that could cause some confusion, overspeak, pass the baton to the next person. Be like, in combat, that's it for me.
Right.
Now my turn is done. Say those things out loud. That way the DM isn't
Agreed.
like trying to cut you off on accident.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely agree.
But I mostly agree. In person has been superior for me.
Yeah.
It's more fun. You get to eat pizza in front of each other. You let me know when you want to go, or I'll keep reading.
I'll go. I'll do mine.
Okay.
I only got one comment picked out, and then I'll listen to all yours. At JSGE says, creativity flourishes in a box. It's so surreal you say this because the host of one of the only other podcasts I consistently listen to religiously, Back Issues on Comic Pop, which oddly enough I think you guys would love, always says adversity breeds creativity, especially referring to comics. How strange. Well, I already replied to you, Jay, so you know this already, but it's not that strange because Back Issues, for me especially, but I think for Brian as well, is a big influence on how we ended up creating this show. I used to watch Back Issues on Comic Pop like religiously for years on end.
I watched most of them.
Yes, and I mean I haven't in years. I've kind of fallen out of comics, but yeah, the Comic Pop crew and Sal in particular, his takes on creativity and his takes on storytelling are takes that I super tend to agree with.
Didn't we buy an ad from them once? I
I believe we might have bought an ad from them. That was so long ago. I forgot about that. Yeah.
I don't think it panned out.
No, I think we did. No, maybe.
We did
it might
do
have-
the ad,
yeah.
but did it work? Probably not. I don't see
know.
a lot of comic book fans on our shit.
I guess not.
It's just this guy years later.
But that being said, so yeah, we're fans as well.
I'm the ignorant guests.
Yeah. The entire idea was like Sal explains to Ethan and Ben comics that they've never read, and the premise here was I explained to Brian D&D stuff he's never heard of before.
Yeah, and 10% of our potential audience is really fucking pissed about it all the time. Like,
That's so true.
I don't know, man. Like,
It's so weird, but true.
I'm just here, like, trying to be relevant.
No, you're doing good. You're doing great.
No, I don't think I did bad job. I just think this is the show we decided to make.
Yeah, it is.
So,
it is.
there you go.
It is, yeah. So, anyways, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate the comment
Indeed.
and figuring that out, because that's exactly what we did.
Yeah, it just took 10 years.
We've explained it before.
Yeah,
we've
that's
talked about it before, but it's good that it comes up every now and again. We get new listeners that haven't listened to old episodes. I don't think a lot of people make it to the end.
I mean, it's a lot of episodes. I don't blame anybody.
Oh, I mean, like to the like. I don't
end
think
of the
people make
episode?
it past like 40 minutes of an episode. And when Tavern Talk comes on, there are going to be people that shut off the podcast.
Yeah, definitely,
So
definitely. Yeah.
I have found in podcasts that I like that do these segments at the end that they've grown on me over time. And they become one of my favorite parts of the show. So in terms of like tight knit community, like we've shown to have, this segment is going to be some people's favorite.
Right.
They're going to love the other stuff too, but like they're waiting to hear relevant speakers and
Okay.
us comment on it.
Okay.
Things are going to come up in this part of the show that never come up ever
In other parts of the show.
over the years. So I
Okay,
think this is
interesting.
good for us.
Yeah, agreed.
I have what Murr, at what Murr says, I wish they'd be a little more clear about what backwards compatible means.
Agreed.
Great. What do you think it's going to mean?
What do I think it's going to mean? I think it's going to essentially mean that the characters that you can build in the old books can play in everything that they're doing moving forward. But that's about it. I think that unfortunately those characters are generally speaking going to be weaker than 2024 characters. I think monsters are gonna be, they're already difficult to use at appropriate CRs anyways, because they're already too weak and boring. If they actually learn from that and make more interesting, powerful monsters that have more appropriate CR ratings that make sense, then that kind of effectively means that the monsters being used right now are going to need some serious adjustment to be used appropriately with all the new stuff and new characters, or why use them at all? And then I think when it comes to adventures, it's mostly going to be about the adventure stays the same. Skills and DC checks are all going to remain the same, but whatever monsters are in here, you're going to probably want to use monster like the equivalent in the 2024 stuff. That's what I think it's going to, the compatibility. So it's like technically backwards compatible, but it's going to be a 5.5.
This is to me, this is a marketing tag. This is to sell people on the new edition that are 5e stands. And because why the fuck couldn't I do this with any other book? Are you serious? Like, just make some adjustments. So unless they put out a read along with you want to play Ghost of the Salt Marsh? Okay, well, here's your read along to make it 5.5 compatible.
Right. Which who knows? They might sell those. Yeah.
They might.
My
Unless
thing
they
is,
do that, this is just an empty threat, pretty much. Or not a threat, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is empty marketing.
I think so, but at the same time, I can't deny they are fixing a lot of things that were bad.
Yes, but they're doing that in their new book. It's not like
Right.
backwards. Like, I'm saying I should be able to pick up Wild of the Witchlight or whatever and like have a read along that says, okay, on this part right here where we say it's a 16 DC, blah, 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 it needs to be this now. Or like, instead of this happening, this should happen and do this instead. Unless that comes along alongside every other book that they've ever published in 5e, this is just like basically do what you want with the stuff that we printed before, like I would have with a 4e book, more or less.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think that's true, but also it was kind of like that anyways. Like, you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, you already end up doing what you want because the
That's-
CRs don't.
That's why I think this is just a marketing ploy to get people to be okay with it. Not really like...
I think so. Yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. I see. What
In
you're
terms
saying.
of like
when
everything
it
is
comes-
backwards compatible if I'm going to have to do what basically you're going to make me do.
You're right. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it is a part of like how do we make this a little more palatable.
They might print the read-alongs. People make like adventure companion
Conversions.
books.
Yeah. Conversion books. Yeah. Absolutely. But yeah, that's basically it. It's just basically going to be because that was how 3.0 and 3.5 were. You could build 3.0 characters and run them in 3.5 stuff, but they were just a little bit less good at doing things and less effective in combat and stuff than stuff built from the 3.5 stuff.
And they said that,
Yeah.
like in terms of character building.
exact same thing.
Like why?
Yeah.
I don't know why we would do the 5e version.
Yeah. The only edition I've seen where
Oh, I guess we said the Ranger. We would use the Tasha one.
Yeah.
Because the
That's-
new
that-
one's bad.
yeah, the new
That's
one is
why, because you
bad.
fucked it up. That's the only
Yeah.
reason I would go back.
Right. The only edition that I've seen that actually did it in a way where everything was truly just backwards and forward compatible, and there wasn't like this edition is just blatantly stronger than this, was when 4th edition moved over to 4E Essentials, which was essentially there's a lot of things broken. We're going to fix them all. We're going to make it all backwards compatible. And yeah, we are going to have new versions of all the classes, but they're going to be pretty much step by step. They're just going to be different. They're not going to be straight up stronger. And like everything is pretty much flat level. Like all the old stuff is made more powerful by the new feats and features and rules. It's not essential stuff is more powerful than base stuff. It's that base stuff had a lot of things broken about it, and we're just going to fix that stuff, and we're going to introduce stuff that was never broken. And so if you want this to be your launching point, it can be. But if you have all the old stuff, all that stuff is only going to be made better by this new stuff.
Sure.
But what's hilarious about that is that 4E Essentials was at the death knell of 4E when it was already floundering and falling apart. So like, you know, a lot of people didn't even like that was never acknowledged because like the edition was already going down the drain. But anyways, that's the only time I've ever seen it done appropriately.
All right, let's move on.
All right.
Let's see. 5.5 Nerf Smite. Just got a text from my dad. Why are you crying so loud? That was a funny, one. Let's see. Not a fan of. That was from Jordan Harrison 249. Shannon Honing 873 says, not a fan of not having a species race ability score, and it's just being just a flavor thing now. But I do like the feats part of the background. To me, that always should have been a thing. I want them to make the next add-on book to be a subclass and subrace/species along. I think they mean multiclassing and monoclassing and multiclassing.
Wait, what? Say the last part again? I'm confused.
I want them to make the next add-on book, so whatever book comes after the initial releases, to be subclass and subrace species along monoclassing and multiclassing.
Oh, I mean, yeah, sure. When it comes to the species thing, the ability score thing, to me, I rather just be able to call it what I want, because I like the idea of being able to play like the out of norm thing if I want to, and also the norm thing if I want to. If I want to play a buff Goliath, cool. I could just do that, obviously. But like if I want to play Megamind, you know, the Brainiac Goliath, who for some reason like wasn't like all the other Goliaths, I also can just do that. So I really just don't feel like we're losing anything by moving away from the static ability scores for species. And I think like the idea of like the thing that like makes the species biologically different should be featured in the species features makes way more sense to me. That's my take though.
We got looking for a we can't read all the YouTube comments like I was trying to do before because it gets too crazy.
There's too many.
There's too many, and the podcast runs a long time. So I looked for a few that were like gonna spark good conversation. So thanks to everybody who has commented a bunch of positive stuff. We love reading that stuff.
Indeed.
So feel free. Like Derek Mason 9411. I'm about to flood you with some stuff. Oh my, happy Pride for the gays. It's fun.
Yay, happy Pride.
Fun comments. Generic comment from Sure Why Not 2156. Thank you. I'm sad that nobody generic replied to you. I hope you guys do in the future. Here's something cool. Adam Petra 7865 says, for those of us that weren't able to support the Kickstarter, when and that's in reference to Star Seeker's Guide to Drakenstar Kickstarter, when do you think they might be available for purchase the same time the physical books ship? And you did reply.
I did reply, but I guess I could reply here too. As soon as the PDF of the book is delivered to all of the backers, as soon as that happens, I will immediately get to work finding a way to make it purchasable to anyone who wants to buy the PDF.
Yeah, it'll probably be on like DM's Guild or something like that.
I'd prefer to have it on our own website, but we'll see. Because DM's Guild takes a cut, and I don't appreciate DM's Guild for a lot of reasons. But anyways, I'm not going to get into that now. As for the physical copies, as of right now, the only plans for physical copies are people who've already purchased one. We are printing a set amount and shipping them. And there may be extras, and those I will find some way to make purchasable, but obviously they're going to be very limited. And if there ever is going to be another printing, it's going to require like signs and backage for people who want. So we might do a thing where like, okay, can we get orders in? 100, 200 orders. Okay, we'll do another printing. But that, honestly, I don't have plans for that because I'm already like overwhelmed with managing and trying to get this book completely written and then designed, formatted, made into a PDF, sent out, and then printed. So if it's something we do, it's something I'm going to have to revisit later.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people weighing in on Paladin Smite, so I'm trying, and it turns into its own conversation in the comments.
It does.
So,
Yeah.
the last one, the last two, I'll read two more, just some short ones. Dovekeeper says nice.
Nice.
And David Robertson 5996 says 2 hour plus Dungeoncast episode. Woot
Woot.
woot 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 woot.
Woot, woot, woot.
Like Halo. We're trying to get away from that's a long episode. The 2 hour plus episodes, those are long episodes.
Yeah.
So we were about to do like a fucking 3 hour episode with this episode and the last episode. We cut it. We're like, this should just be 2 episodes.
Yeah,
Like,
it's hard. There's a lot to cover, and then there's a lot to conversate about.
it's also a boon for us because we got so behind in our recording schedule. This is going to actually give us a plus to get ahead.
That's true.
So there is a delay on getting like this pertinent information while it's hot out, but there's actually time here between them doing these videos and the book release to sort of play around in the space.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Episode 401 on the way. Will, do you have anything else you want to chime in on here?
No, not at all.
Okay. We didn't read these already in the Magman episode, did we?
No, definitely not.
I don't think so.
Yeah, the Magman
what did we
episode-
do in the Magman episode?
Magman episode was recorded before the 5.5.
Okay,
yeah.
good.
So we're good.
Just the schedule getting messed
I
up
know.
has been so strange.
It's been crazy.
But yeah, okay. So next episode, we're going to get back to Year of the Elemental.
Yes.
I don't know. That's the next one we're going to record.
Theoretically.
The
It's
next one we're
gonna record.
recording is, so
Yes.
whatever drops on the feed, I don't know. But the next one we're recording is that.
We're on day by day right now.
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Well, let's get ready for a long rest.
yeah.
Let's
Well,
do it.
no,
Right.
we're pre-recorded us will say that.
Okay, sounds good. Talk to you guys later.
Bye. Hey, everybody. Welcome to The Long Rest. This is the part of the show where we tell you about all the stuff that's going on with the Dungeoncast. One of those things, Starseeker's Guide to Drakenstar is on its way-ish. Yeah.
Yep, working on the last chapter. Lots of monsters. So many monsters.
Thank you to everybody who has supported that project. Will's been working his buttocks off getting a very cool book written, and we're all really proud of him. So thanks, Will, for doing
Thank
that.
you. I appreciate it.
Like we said, we're going to be making some adjustments to how the show is formatted. You've heard a couple of them in these recent episodes and upcoming episodes, so keep an eye out for that. We did want to tell you about our new merch shop. So thank you, Dustin, for doing so much cool work in the merch shop.
Yes, there's now a growing collection of super freaking sick designs. I've been wearing one all episode, and you'll see it again in the next episode. But the Ooze Roomba shirt. But I believe there's an Asmodeus design in the works. There's a couple awesome Demogorgon designs on there. There's Bahamut's design, Bahamut's Gym. There's all kinds of cool stuff on there. So if you guys are fans of the show and want to get really badass looking merch that reps the show and also support an artist who's a big fan of the show and does some awesome work, go check out the link in the description. Baba Yaga's Yard Sale. It's where you will find all your new awesome Dungeoncast merch.
Yeah, we if you want to interact with the show in our tavern talk section, you can do so by emailing us at thedungeoncast@gmail.com. You can also send hard mail into I believe it's 1784 PO Box 1784 Upland, California 91785. But that address is below in case I messed it up. So check that out in the description. You can send us mail and we'll read it on the show. You can also leave YouTube comments, like and subscribe on our YouTube channel. That really helps us out a lot. And we do read YouTube comments on the show. We kind of pick and choose which episodes we want to go by, but we usually just read everything that's there. We don't really curate too much unless it's like too crazy. And then we also have other ways for you to interact with us on social media. Will, can you speak on that?
Yeah, in the description you'll find links to our Twitter, to our Instagram, to our Discord, and to our Mastodon and our Threads account.
Yeah, I saw some disparaging stuff about Instagram using artists' posts to curate their AI-generated art.
Oh, boy.
And so I see a lot of artists leaving Instagram right now, and I do not blame you. So,
No, I honestly, I'm learning about this right now.
Yeah, that's been an unfortunate thing that happened. I'm on Instagram a lot. You can follow me, Sound Good Inc. If you want to come chat with me. I'm posting stuff about like my turtle or like whatever, dude. I'm not like doing a ton of D&D stuff there, but some of you guys send me funny D&D memes, and I think that's pretty cool. So feel free to continue to do that and come interact with me there. You can also find us on Discord. That's a great place to come talk and chat with us.
That's like the only social media I actually personally partake in.
Yeah, Discord is great for a lot of things. If you're in the Dungeoncast Discord and you want to ask us something in real time, we'll probably answer. I usually try to get in there and if it's in that particular thread, but there's lots of stuff to do there. We have a really awesome team that admins and moderates that stuff for us. So thank you guys very much for doing that. Also, thank you to our team that helps us do cool stuff in the background. Just want to take a second to shout out to you. And then I think, is there anything else that we want to talk about in terms of show?
I think that's pretty much it. I mean,
patreon.com/Dungeoncast.
yeah,
You can go support us there. You can find Alien and Beer content, early episodes, show notes.
Eventually, there will be early access to our awesome
Unhallowed.
in the works horror RPG campaign, Unhallowed.
Yeah, it's been, it's taking a long time to produce it.
Some people have had kids in the works. We had to do a couple revamps. Someone had to walk away. It's been through the ringer, but it's come out great so far. So we're gonna finish recording this series this summer and start on post-production this summer.
Yeah,
and hopefully have it out by the end of this year, or early next year.
Yeah, we're gonna figure out some way to get you guys Unhallowed content ASAP. I was pitching to Will, maybe we can do raw session updates for certain tiers. We'll see. We don't know. It's in the works, but the idea is that we want a really cool polished product to have in our Patreon for you guys. So it's taken a long time, but we're working on it, and we're gonna have it as soon as we can. So thank you guys. We also wanted to start using our platform to advocate for causes that we think are worthy in Will and I's eyes. So if you guys can, there's a link below where you can donate to the PCRF. That's the Palestine Children's Relief Fund. They provide free medical care to thousands of injured and ill children yearly who lack local access to care within the local healthcare system. We'd really appreciate it if you could consider going to donate to that. And then other than that, I think we have nothing else to give. We're done.
I think that's it.
I think we'll call it a game.
Let's call it a game. We'll talk to you guys later.
Bye.
The Dungeoncast.